Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time discussing cards from Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game by Fantasy Flight Games. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride, and today we are talking about Sneak Attack, the one-cost leadership event from the core set. It is pretty powerful, to say the least. Now, David, what do you think of Sneak Attack?
I love it. First of all, I am super excited that this is our very first event card that we're doing on the show. I think that it fits with kind of how we've started the show. Not that we have any particular order, but, we try to take some of the important cards first. And the fact that Sneak Attack is the first event, I really enjoy. Secondly, I love the card art. I'm usually not a fan of kind of cartoony looking card art. Not that this is overly cartoony, but you have kind of like to me it looks like a superhero hobbit flying through the air at what looks to be an unsuspecting goblin or orc, and that to me is a little cartoony, but to me I love that card art and kind of how it matches with the theme of what this card does. And so the fact that you can put one ally into play from your hand for a phase, to me, is amazing. And now this came out with the core set, and so I would hazard a guess that the reason why people know about Sneak Attack is because of everybody's favorite core set bad guy, the Hill Troll, and you're sneak attacking Gandalf. You bring Gandalf out, you sneak attack him, you bring him out to do 4 damage, he comes back into your hand at the end of the phase. Regardless of what you're doing for him, in terms of whether you're going to use him to attack, defend, or quest, it's that Gandalf, bring him into play, do 4 damage to something. But to expand on that, here's the thing, and this is why I'm so excited about doing an episode that has to do with Sneak Attack, is because there's a whole list of cards that I happen to be looking at right now that have effects that after a card is played from your hand. And so kind of my go-to Sneak Attack is the Andrath Guardsman, where when the Andrath Guardsman enters play from your hand, you pick a target non-unique enemy, and that enemy can't attack this round. And so, albeit it seems strange that that you'd use a Sneak Attack to bring out just a 2-cost ally, but that gives you basically the ability to feint not only once but twice, because you can use a Sneak Attack, bring the Andrath Guardsman out, have it not attack, and use him to quest or defend some other thing, and then he comes back into your hand, and then you can hard cast him the next round for cheap and have that same enemy not attack. And so there's a whole bevy of these cards that I think that get lost because the Sneak Attack Gandalf combo is so strong. It seems to be kind of all these other smaller combos are the ones that get lost in the shuffle.
I believe you're right. There is a lot of other potentials for Sneak Attack. One that I've recently used is Sneak Attack Longbeard Orcslayer. As you're aware, I've been playing a lot in the Mines of Khazad-dûm at the minute. There's a lot of enemies with 2 hit points in that quest, so playing Phelan to quest softens them up, and then hiring Sneak Attack Longbeard Orcslayer finishes them off. That in itself is a way to clear the board in Khazad-dûm. Now, that's not always going to be the case with most quests, because obviously Longbeard Orcslayer only targets orcs in play. Whereas with, say, dropping in, say, Bjorn, Sneak Attack Bjorn, and then playing Sword of Fane on them, there's for 5 resources total, you've got a 6-cost hero in play that gains resources, which is a combination that I have used on OCTGN last week. I played Bjorn, Sword of Fane, and had a massive big Bjorn out on the field.
I mean, and that's the thing, is that, there's the Descendant of Throndor. I'm just looking up on Hall of Bjorn the cards that have enter play effects. And so the Descendant of Throndor has its tactics card from the Hills of Emyn Muil, and it's when the Descendant comes into play or leaves play, you deal 2 damage to any one enemy in the staging area. So if you sneak attack Descendant of Throndor, he comes into play, and then he leaves play, and then you can hardcast him. You can, in the next round, you can do 8 damage to something without really even thinking about it when it's in the staging area. Or you can spread that 8 damage amongst 4 different enemies in the staging area. The power of sneak attack and what it does, and this is just having 1 in the deck. Forget having 3. I mean, just the versatility that sneak attack gives you, as long as your card that you're looking at has some sort of enter play effect. It's crazy. I'm trying to think. There's a card that also says when it comes into play, it does direct damage to another. It's a tactics card, and I haven't been able to find it yet. But I mean, that's another card that does direct damage when it comes into play.
Are you talking about the Galadon Archer? After Galadon Archer enters play, deal 1 damage to an enemy not engaged with you?
Yes, that's always good. Farmer Maggot. What expansion is he from?
Black Riders, as you well know.
Right. From the Mountain of Fire. Farmer Maggot. I have Farmer Maggot in my Hobbit deck, obviously in my Hobbit deck, but I call him Gandalf Light. He does 2 damage to an enemy, because typically you're running with threat lower than your with threat that's lower than engagement cost. And he does 2 direct damage. And so I can sneak attack him, bring him in, and then hardcast him the next round, and then I'm doing 4 damage. Now I call him Gandalf Light because the enemy has to be engaged with you. But nonetheless, I mean, you're talking about, Elrond. I'm looking at Elrond. Like, just the amount of cards that have awesome when they come into play effects. Elrond, it says choose 1, heal all damage on a hero, discard a condition attachment, or each player draws 1 card. I mean, sneak attack Lord Elrond, not Lord Elrond, let me say that a little clearer. If you sneak attack Elrond from The Road Darkens, the lore ally, I mean, if you have six of him coming out, I mean, that's also really awesome. Sneak attack has so many uses, and it actually kind of irks me to hear about people running kind of the standard sneak attack Gandalf. Of course you're going to run sneak attack Gandalf. That, to me, that seems like a no-brainer, but there's so many other options.
Yeah, like the Nath Guide.
What's that?
The Nath Guide. After Nath Guide enters play, choose a hero. That hero does not exhaust to commit to the quest this round.
That's exactly right. I mean, why wouldn't you put some of these cards in your deck? I mean, regardless of what they cost. Like that Andrath Guardsman, I get, like he's cheap, but his effect is worth it if you need it. Sneak attack him in the, after in your action window in the attack phase or the defense phase or whatever you want to call it, and you're set. If you're running something where you're getting a lot of attachments discarded, the Erebor Hammersmith from the core set, when you play him from your hand, return the topmost attachment from your discard pile back into your hand.
Or even if you're just running a lot of attachments in general, sneak attack Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
Because that'll allow you to search the top 5 cards of your deck and play an attachment for the cost of 3. And put it into play.
Right. Yeah, or if you're playing a ranged deck, Rumiel. It says after you play Rumiel from your hand, choose an enemy engaged with a player, deal X damage to that enemy, where X is the number of ranged characters you control. And so now you can sneak attack him out into play, and all of a sudden you're doing direct damage to people anywhere on the board. The sneak attack card is, I don't want to call it overpowered, but it is probably the card that has to be almost auto-include in just about any deck for almost any reason. And if you're running a dwarf deck and you have Legacy of Durin in, anytime you play a dwarf card from your hand, a dwarf character from your hand, you get to draw a card. And so that doubles the number of cards that particular dwarf is going to allow you to draw.
Even if you don't run, like, say, Sword of Thane, and you need to get Bjorn out and, say, deal with the Nazgul and escape from Dol Guldur, drop Sneak Attack, activate Bjorn's ability to increase his attack by 5, so he's swinging for 8, plus your heroes, kills off the witch, the Nazgul. You're sitting pretty, even though he's returning to your deck at the end of the combat phase.
I know that I kind of monopolized the whole thing by...
No, there is absolutely nothing else left to say about Sneak Attack other than it is what it is. You Sneak Attack, you get the upper hand on your enemy, you run away. Right. And the artwork kind of reminds me of Bilbo going into Goblin Town with the dwarves. He ducks and hides out the way, and then when he's got the chance to strike, he stabs it in the back of...
If you were going to ring this event, 1 being the 1 card to rule them all, and 10 being the worst card in the game, Grant, where are you ranking Sneak Attack?
I'm ranking it at a 1. Mainly because there is nothing bad about this card. There is no downside to it. It isn't situational because you've always got something that you could want to pull out, even if it's just for a phase. It costs 1. It's not overly pricey. It's not under cost. It is what it is.
Right. I also would have to give it a 1. For me, this comes down to the fact that it's a needed card anytime you're going to want a little more in terms of questing, attacking, defending. And I think what puts it over the top for me for being a 1 is that there's so many different allies that have different effects that this card is not situational in the slightest. If you're just gonna sneak attack an enemy or sneak attack an ally in just because you need somebody to block, that's cool. But there's so many cards that we only scratch the surface of in this episode that have events that are, when put into play, that range the whole gamut of different deck types, that this card only helps any one of those deck types. And the fact that it's from the leadership sphere, which to me is thematic for the card, I guess it could also be a tactics card in my book, but it's just right for me, and it's definitely probably the strongest one that I could give a card. I know that I had another one in a previous episode, Sam Gamgee, but this one is a stronger one than Sam was. So join us for the next show. We have a special show lined up for you. It's going to be our 20th episode. And in that episode, we have invited Joseph Forrester to join us. And we're going to discuss any card that he chooses, kind of on the fly. We are anxious to see what card he picks. And hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. What do you think of that, Grant?
I can't wait. I hope he's going to pick a good card. I really do.
I hope he does too. I think off air I've told you what I think he is going to pick, and we'll see how close I am. And so I'm sure that I will have some sort of reaction about if I'm right or if I'm wrong.
If you're wrong, you're going to cry like a girl. If you're right, you're probably going to burst the eardrums.
Right. So the chances are I'm going to end up crying like a girl with all the cards that are out there in the card pool. So join us next time. Have a great day.